There's a particular exhaustion that comes from being the woman everyone calls sweet. The one who never complains, never asks for too much, never makes anyone uncomfortable with her needs. It's the tiredness that sleep doesn't touch, the kind that settles in the chest like a stone, growing heavier each time someone says, "I knew I could count on you," while walking away. This isn't about kindness. Kindness chooses itself. This is about something else entirely. A conditioning so deep it feels like breathing. So automatic it masquerades as character. It's the price paid for being deemed good by a world that mistakes silence for strength, compliance for grace. She learns to carry everyone's feelings but her own, to smooth every edge that might cause friction, to become so skilled at disappearing into what others need that she forgets what it feels like to simply exist as herself. But what if the very thing that makes everyone else comfortable is the thing that's been slowly erasing her from her own life? The good girl learns early that her worth lives in other people's ease. She discovers that saying yes when she means no keeps the peace, that smoothing over tension earns approval, that making herself small makes others feel bigger. This isn't conscious. It's woven into the fabric of growing up female. 1,000 tiny lessons about which parts of herself are acceptable and which should be tucked away. The loud laugh becomes softer. The strong opinion becomes a gentle suggestion. The clear boundary becomes an apologetic maybe. It starts innocently enough. Being praised for being so mature when she handles things without complaint. Getting positive attention for being the one who doesn't make waves. Learning that conflict equals rejection, that disappointing someone means losing love. She becomes an expert at reading micro-expressions, sensing tension before it surfaces, adjusting her energy to match whatever the room needs. If someone seems upset, she automatically scans for what she might have done wrong. If there's silence, she fills it. If there's discomfort, she absorbs it. The exhaustion isn't from being kind. It's from the constant translation, taking what feels true inside and filtering it through what feels safe outside. It's the energy spent reading every room, adjusting every response, carrying everyone else's comfort while her own becomes foreign. She learns to gauge her own worth by how little friction she creates. Success becomes measured not by what she achieves, but by how seamlessly she fits into whatever space she's given. Her value gets tied to her ability to make difficult people easier, tense situations smoother, complicated dynamics simpler. And somewhere along the way, the question stops being, "What do I want?" and becomes, "What do they need from me?" But there's something most never realize about this pattern, something that changes everything once it's seen. If there's ever been that hollow feeling after doing everything right and still feeling invisible, stay with me. The good girl trap isn't just about pleasing people. It's about emotional disappearance. It's about becoming so skilled at managing everyone else's feelings that her own become strangers. She can sense when someone needs reassurance, comfort, or space, but can't name what she herself needs in any given moment. She becomes fluent in the language of others while losing her own voice entirely. This shows up everywhere. In restaurants, she orders whatever seems easiest for the server. In groups, she gravitates toward whoever seems left out, even if their energy drains her. In conversations, she finds herself nodding along to opinions that make her stomach tighten. She's become so practiced at being agreeable that she's forgotten what agreement actually feels like. The small moments reveal everything, agreeing to plans that drain her, laughing at jokes that aren't funny, saying, "I'm fine," when asked how she's doing, because she genuinely doesn't know anymore. The feelings that matter get pushed down so consistently that they stop rising up at all. Her inner world becomes a foreign place. She can tell anyone what their favorite coffee order is, remember birthdays and anniversaries, notice when someone gets a haircut. But ask her what she's feeling in this moment, what she truly thinks about something that matters, what she wants for dinner, and there's just silence. The cruelest part is how this gets praised. She's so easygoing. She never causes drama. She's such a peacemaker. The very behaviors that are slowly hollowing her out are celebrated as virtues. And so she continues, getting better and better at something that's making her disappear. She becomes the person everyone feels comfortable venting to, but who has nowhere to take her own frustrations. The one people call when they need support, but who has learned that her own needs feel too heavy to share. She's surrounded by people who think they know her, but she's been performing a version of herself for so long that intimacy feels impossible. The resentment builds quietly, not toward any one person, but toward the entire invisible contract she never remembered signing. The one where her job is to make everything smooth and everyone comfortable, while her own discomfort becomes irrelevant background noise. She starts to feel ghostly in her own life, present but not really there, helpful but not seen, needed but not known, essential to everyone's emotional ecosystem, yet somehow expendable when it comes to her own needs. And the strangest part is how lonely it becomes to be surrounded by people who think they care about her, when what they actually care about is how she makes them feel. They love her reliability, her understanding, her ability to make their problems feel manageable. But the person beneath all that service, who is she? What does she want? What keeps her awake at night? The good girl discovers that being liked for who she pretends to be feels worse than being alone. Because at least in solitude, she doesn't have to hold up the mask. At least there, she can stop pretending that constant giving doesn't leave her empty. She realizes that she's been living like a supporting character in her own story, essential to everyone else's plot, but somehow absent from her own narrative. The woman who helps everyone process their feelings, but has forgotten how to sit with her own. Who can offer wisdom to others, but can't access her own inner guidance. The shift begins with a simple recognition. There's a difference between being kind and being available, between being caring and being responsible for everyone else's emotional state, between being gentle and being invisible. It starts with small moments of clarity. Maybe it's the exhaustion after another day of saying yes to things that feel like no. Maybe it's the hollow feeling after being thanked for something that cost more than the other person will ever know. Maybe it's the moment when someone asks what she wants, and the question feels genuinely foreign. The awakening isn't dramatic. It's quiet, like finally hearing a song that's been playing in the background all along. Suddenly, the patterns become visible. The way conversations always center around others. The way her preferences get forgotten or overruled. The way she's become an expert at everyone else's needs, while her own remain mysterious. Real kindness includes kindness toward oneself. It sets boundaries not from a place of anger, but from a place of clarity. It says no without guilt because it understands that authentic yes requires the freedom to say no. The woman who breaks free from the good girl trap doesn't become mean. She becomes real. She stops apologizing for taking up space, for having preferences, for being human in ways that might inconvenience others. She learns that disappointing people isn't the same as harming them, that someone's discomfort with her boundaries doesn't make those boundaries wrong. That being liked by people who only appreciate her compliance isn't actually being liked at all. This process isn't comfortable. It means risking relationships that were built on her perpetual availability. It means discovering which connections were genuine and which were transactional. It means tolerating being misunderstood rather than continuing to abandon herself for the illusion of harmony. She learns to tolerate being misunderstood rather than continuing to abandon herself for the illusion of being liked. She discovers that the people who truly matter will stay when she stops performing, and those who leave were never really there for her anyway. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming sovereign. It's about remembering that her feelings, needs, and perspectives matter not because others validate them, but because they're hers. She starts asking different questions. What do I actually think about this? Instead of, what should I think? What feels right to me? Instead of, what will make everyone happy? What do I need? Instead of, what does everyone else need from me? There's a quiet power in no longer needing to be everyone's favorite person, in being willing to disappoint others rather than consistently disappointing herself, in choosing authentic connection over artificial harmony. The good girl trap promises safety through invisibility, acceptance through self-abandonment. But safety that requires disappearing isn't safety at all. It's just a more comfortable cage. She discovers that real peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of authenticity. That genuine relationships aren't built on her ability to be whatever others need, but on the courage to be who she actually is, even when that's inconvenient. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily practice of choosing herself without guilt, of speaking up even when her voice shakes, of honoring her own needs with the same attention she's always given to others. There's grief in this process, mourning the version of herself that kept everyone happy, even as she recognizes that version was never real, saying goodbye to relationships that couldn't survive her authenticity, even as she makes space for connections that can. But there's also relief. The deep exhale of no longer carrying everyone else's emotional weight. The lightness of conversations where she doesn't have to perform. The surprising joy of discovering that she has opinions, preferences, desires that exist independent of what others want from her. Maybe the most radical thing isn't becoming someone new, but remembering who was there all along. Beneath the layers of pleasing, beneath the performance of perpetual agreeability. The woman who existed before, she learned that her worth depended on her usefulness to others. In the end, the question isn't whether others will like the real version. The question is whether that version gets to exist at all. And perhaps, finally, the answer becomes a quiet, certain yes.